Pastor Che Ahn, so much to talk with you about today. Obviously, running for governor is a big undertaking, especially in a state like California. What was it that led you to decide to make such a bold run?
Well, I had an encounter with the Lord on April 28th, and I woke up at 2:22 in the morning, and I think that number is significant because it represents Isaiah 22:22 for me, that He's going to open doors that no man can close. And I knew that God was calling me to run for governor, and my initial reaction was, "Please, God, not this, anything but this." But I knew it was the voice of the Lord. I threw a crazy fleece out. I said, Lord, I'm weak. I still need a confirmation. And if President Trump invites me to the White House, then I know this is really from you because met President Trump twice in 2024, once in February at Mar-a-Lago, and then in Atlanta. Charlie Kirk invited me with 80 pastors to meet him in Atlanta before a big rally, and I was one of four pastors asked to pray for him. And so I had said, Lord, I've never been to the White House. If I get invited to the White House, that'd be a major sign. And 5 hours later, I get an email inviting me to the White House. This sounds crazy, but he asked me to come to the National Day of Prayer. A handful of pastors were invited to that, and so I was there as he signed the executive order for the religious commission that he set up that day on May 1st. So to me, I said, okay, you got my attention. Of course, I shared it with my wife, my family. They all just affirmed me. And I still had to get a number of things in order because, I'm pastoring a church. I lead a network of churches, and I had to submit to the board and see what they thought. And everyone gave me the green light. And so I made the announcement in August 2nd that I'm running for governor.
So, I mean, that initial reaction of, oh no, please, God, why are you asking me to do this? You talk a little bit more about why you felt like initially, oh my goodness, this is not something that I actually want to do. Even though I'm being called to do it, I don't want to do it.
Well, we have a supermajority of Democrats here. We have only 25% in California registered Republicans, and I'm a Republican. And to run as a Republican, being true to who I am and my values, I knew it's going to take a miracle to win, and it would take a miracle to turn California around. But God assured me He's a God of miracles. And so I came to California in 1984 because God promised me revival and reformation in California. And my wife said, I believe this is why we came to California, that you be catalytic in bringing about the reformation that we need in California. And so it made sense to me. And I didn't get a word I'm going to win, Billy. I mean, I'm running to win, but I believe that I'm called to serve the Lord first and foremost and serve this state and to see revival, spiritual awakening come to this state. And so that's what my main objective is that. And the means to that is running for governor.
Why do you think that a pastor actually makes a good candidate for governor?
Well, to be honest with you, this was not on my radar. But when I think about it, I'm a servant leader. I have served my people as a pastor for 46 years, and I'm a pastor to everyone, not just the conservative people or who are Republicans in my congregation. We have Democrats and Republicans, and I feel that what we need is someone that will serve the state of California. It's not about me. It's not about the governor. It's not about the politician. It's about we, the people. And I again, as a pastor, I fear God. I believe I've walked in integrity by God's grace. 52 years of walking with Jesus Christ. And what I feel that we need leadership that is integrous. I believe that we need a servant leader, and I believe that a pastor would make a great. They've been vetted. We don't have skeletons in our closet. I'm not going to be bought. I'm not looking for another career. In fact, I'm also a businessman. I have my own business, and I started in 2010, and I'm very successful with my business because it involves real estate in California, and I make more money as a businessman that, to be honest with you, it would be a pay cut to be a governor. And so I'm not going to be bought. I turned my salary into the church for the last 15 years because I'm doing so well. And so I'm really a public servant in the true sense of the word, that I'm not on the payroll, so to speak. And so, anyway, so again, I'm not looking for another job. I'm not looking for a career. I'm very, very grateful that I've been able to serve the Lord. But now I feel this is another divine assignment. It's not my destiny, but it's a divine assignment for me to serve and run for California for the sake of bringing revival and reformation to the state.
What would you say are California's biggest problems and issues right now?
I think it's mismanagement of the government. I think across the board, we're the fourth largest economy. If California was a nation, would be the fourth richest nation, right behind United States, China, and Germany. And yet, 35% of Californians live in poverty. We have paid the highest taxes, the highest gas prices, the highest electricity bill. Is hurting people. And even though we have all the oil, crude oil, natural gas, and just in one county, Kern County alone, we would have more oil than even the state of Texas. And so we have the natural resources, but because of our extreme imbalance environmental progressive left, that we have shut down our oil production. We're importing now 62% of our petroleum into this state because we need petroleum. We spend number one on jet fuel as a state, with the planes that are flying out of LA and Sacramento and San Francisco, San Diego, and 30 million gallons of gasoline every day we need in California for all the cars and trucks and diesel fuel that we need. And we're number two next to Texas as far as gas consumption, and yet we're not producing. We've stopped drilling. We've closed down the wells because of the extreme environmental policies here. So, what I'm asking for is just common sense balance. And I do feel it's an emergency. And as a governor, I would declare it a executive order because of the poverty that's causing, for poor people can't afford gas, and people are leaving by the million. 1.5 million people have left California. So I feel that it's something that is poor policy mismanagement, and I want to bring common sense balance to the policy in Sacramento.
One of the things, obviously, somebody could say, well, what drives all this? You're a pastor. And so I would imagine you see a spiritual cause to some of these issues that you just described, and other issues as well. How do you explain that? Can you talk about this through a spiritual lens?
Well, I obviously spiritual things are spiritually understood, and so unbelievers may not understand this. But I believe judgment begins in the house of the Lord. First Peter 4:17 says that. So I'm going to address the church. I'm going to say, as the church here in California, and by the way, we have more evangelicals in the state of California than any other state except for Texas. So I'm going to address the church, that we need to humble ourselves and call for a solemn assembly. When a nation's in crisis, God gives us the solution. It's a spiritual solution. It says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people, not the world, not unbelievers, if my people are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Yes, there's sin in the church, and then I'll hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. So we need California to be healed. We need this land to be healed. And God's remedy is one of humility, repentance, and prayer. It's all spiritual truths that we're not asking unbelievers to do that. If they want to, of course, they could join us. But on the first day, I'm going to call for a solemn assembly, a day of repentance. And of course, our nation has done that from the very beginning with President George Washington, that we've had many national days of prayer and repentance, and I'm going to do that for the state of California.
What have you learned so far on the campaign trail? Obviously, this is different from being a pastor in many, many ways. So, what have been some of the big lessons you've learned about yourself, about your faith, about politics? I know that's a loaded question.
Well, this is probably the biggest challenge of my life. I think one of the things that I have really had I'm just going to be honest here. I have a hard time asking people to give to me. And I know it's not about me. Is the cause of running for governor? But I have no problems asking people to give to the church. I was president of the Call Prayer Movement with Lou Engle from 2000 2003. We asked people to sow into these events that we had called the Call, and I have no problems doing that. But to have people give to my campaign has been really a challenge. But I have to do it. It's just part of the process of running. And so I'm asking people to pray for California, pray for me, and to support me any way they can. So that's been a challenge that's been kind of new. And I just have to renew my thinking, die to myself, and realize it's for the cause of California.
If you were to be elected tomorrow, what would be the first things you would do in office?
I think I would open up the oil wells and start producing and lowering the gas prices immediately because the energy, it's amazing. The crude oil index has a direct correlation with food prices, and we're paying the most expensive. It's just absolutely not affordable to live here, and so I want to lower the price index here so that people can afford to live here and to flourish here and to start prospering here. So really, the economy is a major issue, but I do want to restore parental rights because we have passed a bill, AB 1955, where teachers are now allowed to tell parents if their child wants to change his or her pronoun, if they want to go through transition. And so parental rights have been taken out. And again, it's almost totalitarian socialism where the government says we know what's best for your children and we will tell you what they need instead of realizing it's about it's taken away is violation of our constitution of we the people. And so even among the democratic moms, 70% would like to see the parents rights restored. And so I'm going to do that on day one. I'm going to say you have the right. You're not domestic terrorists if you complain about the school condition, because right now the school is abysmal. We're 48th out of 50 states in test scores. DEI, critical race theory being taught in our schools instead of the math and basics. And so I just want to restore common sense and sanity to our schools and to the state of California.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we round out to a close, if you had one big appeal that you could make to people right now who are watching this, people in California who you want to vote for you, what would you say to them right now?
Well, the greatest need I really believe is spiritual awakening here in California. I really mean that. So I would appeal to believers to really pray fast. Yeah, there's so much that really is a need, but I begin with prayer because we need God's mercy, God's help. And so where do we begin, right? It's like it's so monumental. We need a miracle in California. And so God's a God of miracles. So with him, all things are possible.
Well, I so appreciate you taking the time joining us today. It's really a big undertaking and a fascinating story of how you got there. Pastor Che Ahn, thank you for your time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more Christ-centered journalism.